The Science of Getting Rich. Wattles. Preface. This book is pragmatic, not philosophical, a pragmatic manual, not a treatise on theories. It was created for men and women, whose most pressing need is money, who wish to become rich first, and then philosophize. It is for those who want results, and wish to take the conclusions of science, as a basis for action, without delving into the procedures, by which those conclusions were obtained. The reader is expected to put the elementary statements on faith, just as he would believe, in the statements concerning a law of electrical action, if it were promulgated by a Marconi or an Edison, and put all his faith in them. For then they will be able to prove its truth to anyone, by putting it into action without fear or doubt. Every man or woman who does this, will certainly be enriched, for the science here applied, is an exact science, and failure is impossible. In writing this book, I have sacrificed all other considerations of plainness and simplicity of style, so that all may understand. The plan of action contemplated herein, was deduced from the conclusions of the philosophy. It has been thoroughly evaluated, and bears the supreme experience of practical experiment, so it works. Chapter 1. The Right to be Rich. Whatever things may be said in favor of poverty, the truth is, it is not possible to live a really full and successful life, unless one is rich. No one can reach his highest point, in his talent or soul development, unless that person has a lot of money. Because to unfold the soul and develop the talent, one must have many things to use, and one cannot have those things, unless one has the money to buy them. A person develops his mind, soul and body, by making use of things, and society is so organized, that man must have money, if he is to become possessor of things. Thus, the basis of all advancement, must be in the science of becoming rich. The object of all life is development, and every living thing has the inalienable right to all the development, which it is capable of attaining. A person's right to life means his right to have the free and unlimited use of all things that are necessary for his full mental, spiritual and physical development. Or in other words, his right to be rich. In this book, I will not speak of riches in a figurative way. To be truly rich does not mean to be satisfied or content with little. No one should be satisfied with little, if he can be able to use and enjoy more. The purpose of nature, is the advancement and development of life, and everyone, should have everything that can contribute to the power, elegance, beauty and riches of life. To be content with less, is a sin. The person who possesses everything he wants, as to live all the life he is capable of living, is rich, and no one who does not have a lot of money, is able to have everything he wants. Life has advanced so far and become so complex, that even the most ordinary man or woman, requires a great deal of wealth, if he wants to live in a way, which at least approaches fulfillment. Every person naturally desires to become, what he or she is really capable of being. The desire to realize innate possibilities is inherent in human nature, we can do nothing about the desire to be what we can be. Success in life is in becoming what you want to be. You can become what you want to be only by using things, and you can have free use of things only if you are rich enough to buy them. Understanding the science of becoming rich is therefore the most essential knowledge of all. There is nothing wrong with wanting to become rich. The desire for wealth is really the desire for a more prosperous, fulfilling and abundant life, and that desire is to be commended. The person who does not desire to live more abundantly is abnormal, and so is the person who does not desire to have enough money to buy everything he or she wants. There are 3 reasons why we live for the body, for the mind and for the soul. None of these is better or holier than the other, all are equally desirable, and none of the 3, body, mind and soul, can live fully if any one of the others is cut off from life and full expression. It is not right or noble to live for the soul alone, if you deny mind and body, and it is wrong to live for the intellect, if you deny body and soul. We are all familiar with the terrible consequences of living for the body, and denying the mind and soul. We can see that real life means the full expression of all that a person can give, through body, mind and soul. Whatever is said, no one can be truly happy or satisfied unless his body is living fully in every function, and unless the same is true of his mind and soul. Wherever there is an unexpressed possibility, or an unexecuted function, there is a desire for dissatisfaction. Desire is a possibility seeking expression, or a function seeking execution. A person cannot live fully in body, without good food, comfortable clothes and a warm roof, and without freedom from overwork. Rest and recreation are also necessary for physical life. One cannot live fully in mind, without books and time to study them, without the opportunity to travel and observe, without intellectual companionship. To live in fullness of mind, a person must have intellectual recreations, and must surround himself with all objects of art and beauty, which he is capable of using and appreciating. To live fully in soul, a person must love, and love is denied full expression by poverty. A person's greatest happiness is found in the bestowal of benefits upon those he loves, and love finds its most natural and spontaneous expression in the action of giving. The individual who has nothing to give, cannot fill his place as a husband or father, as a citizen, or as a human being. It is in the use of material things, that a person finds the full life of his body, develops his mind, and unfolds his soul. It is therefore, of supreme importance, that every individual be wealthy. It is perfectly right that you should desire to be rich. If you are a normal man or woman, you cannot help thinking about it. It is perfectly right, that you should give your best attention, to the science of becoming rich, because it is the noblest and most necessary, of all studies. If you deny this study, you are derelict in your duty to yourself, to God and to mankind, so that you can give God and mankind no greater service than to make the most of yourself. Chapter 2. There is a science to becoming rich. There is a science to become rich, and it is an exact science, like algebra or arithmetic. There are certain laws, which govern the process of acquiring wealth, and once these laws are learned and obeyed by anyone, that person will become rich, with mathematical certainty. The possession of money and property comes as a result of doing things in the right way, and those who do things in this way, either on purpose or accidentally, become rich. While those who do not do things the right way, no matter how hard they work, or how capable they are, will remain in poverty. It is a law of nature, that the causes of want always produce the effects of want, and therefore, any man or woman, who learns to do things the right way, will unfailingly be rich. That the above statement is true is proved by the following facts. Becoming rich is not a matter of environment, because if it were, all the people in certain neighborhoods would become rich. People in an entire city would be rich, while others in another city would all be poor, or all the inhabitants of one state would be affluent, while those in the neighboring state would be in poverty. Everywhere, we see rich and poor living side by side, in the same environment, and often engaged in the same vocations. When two people are in the same locality, and in the same business, and one becomes rich, while the other remains poor, it becomes evident that becoming rich is not primarily a matter of environment. It is true that some environments may be more favorable than others. But having two people in the same business, who are in the same neighborhood, and one becomes rich while the other fails, this indicates that becoming rich is the result of doing things the right way. Moreover, the ability to do things this way is not only due to the possession of talent. Many people who have great talent always remain poor, while others who have very little talent get rich easily. Studying the people who have become wealthy, we find that they are an average group in all respects, who have no greater talents and abilities than those possessed by anyone else. It is evident that they do not get rich because they have talents and abilities that others do not have, but because they do things the right way. Becoming rich is not the result of saving or economizing. Many mean people are poor, while ample people often become rich. They become rich because they do things that others fail to do. For two people who are in the same business often do exactly the same things, and one gets rich, while the other remains poor, and goes bankrupt. From all these things, we must come to the conclusion that getting rich is the result of doing things the right way. If becoming rich is the result of doing things the right way, and if the causes of wanting always produce the effects of wanting, then any man or woman who can do things that way can become rich. So the whole question is enclosed in the domain of exact science. The question arises here, concerning whether this certain way of doing things may be so difficult that only a few can follow it. As we have seen, this cannot be true, to the extent that natural ability is affected by some problem. Talented people get rich, and dumb people get richer, intellectually brilliant people get richer, and very stupid people get richer, physically strong people get richer, and weak and sickly people get richer. Some degree of ability to think and understand is, of course, essential. But to the degree that natural ability is affected, any man or woman who has enough sense to read and understand these words can become rich. Likewise, we have seen that it is not a matter of environment. Although location does affect it to some extent. One cannot go to the heart of the Sahara and expect to set up a successful business. Getting rich involves the need to deal with people, and to be where there are people to deal with, and if these people are inclined to deal in the way you want to deal, so much the better. But that's just concerning the environment. If someone else in your town can get rich, so can you, and if someone else in your state can get rich, so can you. It is not a matter of choosing a particular business, or a particular profession. People can become rich in every business and in every profession, while the next-door neighbor, who has the same profession, remains poor. It is true that you will give the best of yourself, if the business pleases you and suits you. And if you have certain talents that are well developed, you will do better in a business that involves the exercise of those talents. Likewise, you will do better if your business suits your location. An ice cream parlor would be more successful in a warm climate than in Greenland, and a salmon fish store would do better in the Northeast than in Florida, where there are no salmon. But apart from these general limitations, getting rich does not depend on your commitment to any particular business, but on learning to do things the right way. If there are people in your locality who are getting rich in the same business you are in now, but you are not, it is simply because you are not following the same approach as they are. No one is prevented from becoming rich because of lack of capital. It is true, when you acquire capital, the increase becomes easier and faster, but someone who has capital is already rich, and does not need to consider how to get rich. No matter how poor you are, if you start doing things the right way, you will start getting rich, and you will start having capital. Obtaining capital is a part of the process of getting rich, and it is a part of the result that invariably follows from doing things the right way. You may be the poorest person on the continent, and be terribly in debt. You may have no friends, influence, no resources, but if you begin to do things in this way, you must infallibly begin to become rich, because the causes of wanting must produce effects of wanting. If you have no capital, you can get it. If you are in the wrong business, you can go into the right one. If you are in the wrong locality, you can go to the right one. And you can do all this by starting in your present business and in your present locality, to do things in the right way, which always produces success. You must begin to live in harmony with the laws that govern the universe. Chapter 3. Is opportunity monopolized? No one remains in poverty just because others have hoarded wealth, and have set up barriers around it. You may close yourself off from engaging in business along certain lines, but there are other channels open to you. At different periods, the tide of opportunity sets in different directions, according to the needs of the global state, and the particular social evolution that has been achieved. There is an abundance of opportunity, for the person who goes with the flow, rather than the one who swims against it. Thus, workers, whether as individuals or as a class, are not deprived of opportunities. They are not being tied down by their bosses, they are not being punished by corporations, nor by big business. As a class, they are where they are because they are not doing things the right way. The working class can become the master class, when they start doing things the right way. The law of wealth is the same for them, as for all others. They must learn, and they will remain where they are, unless they continue to do things, just as they have done them. The individual worker, however, is not restricted by the ignorance of a whole class. In regard to these laws, he can go with the flow of wealth opportunities, and this book will tell him how. No one is kept in poverty because of scarcity in the supply of wealth. There is more than enough for all. A palace as large as the Capitol in Washington can be built for every family on earth from the building material of the United States alone. With great dedication, this nation would generate an abundance of wool, cotton, linen and silk, as to clothe every individual in the world, with greater elegance, than Solomon could boast in all his glory. Moreover, it would provide enough food, to feed everyone in luxurious style. The visible supply is practically inexhaustible, and it really is. Everything you see on earth, is made of one original substance, from which all things proceed. New forms are continually being created, and old ones are dissolving, but they are all forms assumed by one thing. There is no limit to the supply of amorphous material, or original substance. The universe is made of it, but it was not fully utilized, in the creation of it. The spaces within, between and in between, of the forms of the visible universe, are permeated and filled with the original substance, of the amorphous material, of the raw material of all things. It has been shown, that 10,000 times more could be accomplished, than has been done so far, and still, the supply of the universal raw material would not be exhausted. Therefore, none is poor because nature is poor, or because there is not enough to go around. Nature is an inexhaustible storehouse of riches, and the supply will never run out. The original substance is full of creative energy, and is constantly producing new forms. When the supply of the building material is exhausted, more will be produced. When the land is exhausted, in the production of food and clothing materials, more land will be renewed or created. When all the gold and silver have been taken out of the earth, and if mankind is at such a stage of social development that it will need gold and silver, more will be produced from the amorphous. The amorphous material responds to the needs of mankind, and it will not let the world be without anything good. It is true of man collectively. The race as a whole is always abundantly rich, and if individuals are poor, it is because they do not follow the right way of doing things, which makes the individual rich. Amorphous matter is intelligent, it is thinking matter. It is alive, and always driven to more life. It is the natural and inherent impulse of life, to seek to live more. It is the nature of intelligence to magnify itself, and that of consciousness, to expand its boundaries, and find full expression. The universe of forms has been created from the materialization of the amorphous and living form, to express itself more fully. The universe is a great living presence, always inherently moving towards more life and fuller functioning. Nature is created for the advancement of life, and it is its urgent motive to increase life. For this, everything that can possibly provide life, is generously facilitated. There can be no scarcity, unless God contradicts himself, and overrides his own creation. You are not poor because of scarcity in the supply of wealth. It is a fact which I shall show later, even that the resources of the amorphous supply, are at the command of the man or woman, who acts and thinks in a right way. Chapter 4. The first principle of the science of becoming rich. Thought is the only power, which can produce tangible wealth, from amorphous substance. The matter of which all things are made, is a thinking substance, and a thought of creation in this substance, produces form. The original substance, moves according to thoughts. Every form and process you see in nature, is the visible expression of a thought, in the original substance. When amorphous matter thinks, it takes that form, and when it thinks in motion, it makes motion. That is the way in which all things are created. We live in a thought world, which is part of a thought universe. The thought of a universe in motion, spread throughout the amorphous substance and thinking matter, moving according to that thought, takes the form of the systems of planets, and maintains that form. Thinking substance takes the form of thought itself, and moves according to that thought. Having the idea of a circumvalar system of suns and worlds, it takes the form of these bodies, and moves them according to the thought. Thinking of the creation of an oak tree, which grows slowly, makes matter move properly, and produce the tree, even though it takes centuries to do that work. In creating, the amorphous appears to move, according to the lines of motion that have been established. In other words, the thought of an oak tree does not cause the instantaneous formation of a fully formed tree. But the forces that will generate that tree begin to move along established lines of growth. Each thought of formation, stored in a thinking substance, causes the creation of form, but always, or at least generally, along lines of growth and action, which were already established. The thought of a house has a certain construction. If it were imprinted in the amorphous substance, it would not cause the instantaneous formation of the house. But it would cause the turning of creative forces, already at work in market and commerce, into channels, resulting in the construction of the house. And if there were no existing channels through which the creative energy could work, then the house would be formed directly from the primitive substance, without waiting for the slow processes of the organic and inorganic world. No thought of formation can be imprinted in the original substance, without causing the creation of the form. A person is a thinking center, and can originate thought. All forms that a person designs with his hands, must first exist in his thought. No one can shape a thing, if he has not first thought about it. Up to now, mankind has confined its efforts to the work of its hands, applying manual labor to the world of forms, and seeking to change or modify those that already exist. Mankind has never thought of trying to cause the creation of new forms by imprinting thought on amorphous substance. When a person has a thought of creation, he takes material from the forms of nature, and makes an image of the form that is in his mind. People have so far made little or no effort to cooperate with the amorphous intelligence, to work with the Father. The individual has not dreamed that he can do what he sees the Father doing. An individual, remolding and modifying existing forms by manual labor, has not given importance to the question, whether he can produce things out of the amorphous substance, by communicating his thoughts to it. We propose to prove that he can do that, to prove that any man or woman can do it, and to show him how. As to our first step, we must fix three fundamental propositions. First, we hold that there is one original amorphous matter or substance, from which all things are made. All the many similar elements, are but different presentations of one element. All forms, found in organic and inorganic nature, are but different forms, made of the same matter. And this matter is thinking matter, a thought stored in it, produces the form of thought. Thought, in thinking substance, produces forms. A human is a thinking center, capable of original thought. If a person can communicate his thought to the original thinking substance, he can cause the creation or formation of the object he thought of. To summarize this, there is a thinking matter, from which all things are made and which, in its original state, permeates and fills the interstices of the universe. A thought in this substance, produces the object which is imagined by the thought. A person can form things in his thought, and by impressing his thought on the amorphous substance, he can cause the object he intended to create. You may wonder if I can prove these statements, and without going into details, I answer that I can, with logic and experience. To reason from the phenomenon of creation and thought, I arrive at the original and unique thinking substance. And to reason from this substance, I arrive at the personal power to cause the formation of the object being thought of. And derived from the experiment, I find the reasoning true. This is my irrefutable proof. If the person who reads this book becomes rich by doing what he is asked to do, it is supporting evidence of my argument. But if every person does what he is asked to do to get rich, it is proof positive, until someone goes through the process and fails. The theory is true until the process fails, and this process will not fail for all those who do exactly what this book asks them to do to get rich. I have said that people become rich by doing things the right way, and to do that, people must become able to think the right way. The way a person does things is a direct result of the way he thinks about them. To do things the way you want to do them, you will learn to acquire the ability to think the way you want to think. This is the first step to becoming rich. And to think what you want to think, is to think truly, regardless of appearances. Every individual has the natural and inherent power to think what he wants to think, but it takes much more effort to do so, than it does to think, when you are influenced by appearances. To think according to appearances is easy, to think truly in spite of appearances is laborious and requires the use of more energy than in any other work we do. There is no work that makes people give up more than that of consecutive and sustained thinking. It is the most difficult work in the world. It is especially true when truth is contrary to appearances. Every appearance in the visible world tends to produce a corresponding form in the mind that observes it, and this can be prevented only by holding the thought of truth. Looking at the appearances of poverty will produce corresponding forms in your own mind, unless you hold fast to the truth that there is no poverty, there is only abundance. To think of health when you are surrounded by disease, or to think of wealth when you are in the midst of the appearances of poverty, requires a power. But whoever acquires this power becomes a master mind. That person can conquer destiny, and can do whatever he wants. This power can only be acquired by holding on to the basic fact, which is behind all appearances, and that fact is that there is one creative substance from which and by which all things are made. Then we have to hold on to the truth that every thought stored in this substance becomes a form, and that man can thus imbue his thoughts in it, to make them form and make them visible. When we realize this, we discard all our doubts and fears, because we know that we can create whatever we want, we can have whatever we want to have, and we can be whatever we want to be. As a first step to enrich ourselves, we must believe the three fundamental affirmations, previously stated in this chapter. And to emphasize them, I repeat them again: there is a thinking matter, from which all things are made, and which, in its original state, permeates and fills the interstices of the universe. A thought in this substance produces the object which is imagined by the thought. A person can form things in his thoughts, and by imprinting his thought on the amorphous substance, he can cause the object he intended to create. You must turn away from all other concepts of the universe, and accept this, until it is engraved in your mind, and has become your habitual thought. Read these affirmations over and over again. Fix each word in your memory, and then meditate on them, until you firmly believe what they say. If any doubt comes to you, put it aside. Do not listen to arguments against this idea. Do not go to churches or lectures, where a contrary concept of things is taught, or preached. Do not read magazines or books, which teach a different idea. If you are confused in your understanding, creed and faith, all your efforts will be in vain. Do not ask why these things are true, or speculate on how they can be true. Simply trust them. The science of becoming rich begins with absolute acceptance of this. Chapter 5. Increasing Life. You must get rid of the last vestment of the old idea, that there is a God whose will it is that you should be poor, or whose purposes it is to serve by remaining poor. The intelligent substance which is all, and is in all, and which lives in all, and in you also, is a consciously living substance. Being a consciously living substance, it must have the natural and inherent desire, for every living intelligence to increase life. Every living thing must continually seek to increase its life, because life, in the mere act of living, must be self-increasing. A seed, falling on the earth, bursts into activity, and in the act of life, produces thousands more seeds. Life, in living, self-multiplies itself. It becomes eternally more, and so it must do, so that it continues to exist. Intelligence is under the same necessity of continuous increase. Every thought we have makes it necessary for us to have another thought. Knowledge is growing every day. Every talent we cultivate brings to mind the desire to cultivate another talent. We are subject to the urge of life, seeking expression, which always leads us to know more, to do more, and to be more. To know more, to do more, and to be more, we must have more. We must have things to use, so that we can learn, do, and be, just by using them. We must become rich so that we can live more. The desire for riches is simply the capacity for greater life-seeking fulfillment. Every desire is the effort of an unexpressed possibility to go into motion. It is the power seeking to manifest that causes the desire. That which makes you want more money is the same thing that makes a plant grow. It is life seeking full expression. The only living substance must be subject to this inherent law of all life. It is imbued with the desire to live more, and that is why it is under the necessity to create things. The one living substance desires to live in and through you. Therefore, it wants you to have all the things you can use. It is God's desire that you be rich. He wants you to be rich, because He can express Himself better through you, if you have all things to use by giving you expression. He can live more within you, if you have unlimited mastery of the means of life. The universe wants you to have everything you want to have. Nature agrees with your plans. Everything is naturally for you. It is essential, however, that your purpose be harmonized with the purpose that is in everything. You must desire real life, not merely the pleasure of sensual gratification. Life is the performance of function, and the individual really lives only when he performs every function, physical, mental, and spiritual, that he is capable of without excess in any. Do not wish to become rich in order to live coquettishly, for the gratification of animal desires. That is not life. But the performance of every physical function is a part of life, and no one lives fully when the body is denied the impulses of normal, healthy expression. Do not wish to become rich only to enjoy mental pleasures, to gain knowledge, to gratify ambition, to outshine others, to be famous. All this is a legitimate part of life, but the person who lives for the pleasures of the intellect will only get a partial life, and will never be satisfied with his destiny. Do not wish to become rich only for the sake of others, to lose yourself in the salvation of mankind, to experience the joy of philanthropy in sacrifice. The joys of the soul are only a part of life, and they are not better or nobler than the others. Wish to become rich so that you can eat, drink and marry, when it is time to do these things. That you may surround yourself with beautiful things, visit distant lands, feed your mind, and develop your intellect. So that you can love others, do kind things, and do a good part in helping the world find the truth. Remember that extreme altruism is no better or nobler than extreme selfishness, both are wrong. Get rid of the idea that God wants you to sacrifice for others, so that you secure divine grace in doing so. God does not demand anything from man. What God wants is that you make the best of yourself, for yourself and for others. And that you may help others more, by making the best of yourself, than in any other way. You can make the best of yourself, only by becoming rich. So it is well and admirable that you should give your first and best thought to the work of acquiring wealth. However, remember that the desire of substance is for all, and your movements must be towards more life for all. It cannot be made to work, to take life from anyone, because it is equitable to all, seeking wealth and life. Intelligent substance will do things for you, but it will not steal things from someone else, and then give them to you. You must get rid of the idea, the thought of competition. You are going to create, not compete for what is already created. You don't have to take anything from anyone, nor do you have to bargain for anything. You don't have to cheat or take advantage. You don't have to make someone work for less than you earn. He does not have to covet the property of others, or look at it with desirous eyes. No one has something that anyone else cannot have, without the need to take anything away. You are going to become a creator, and not a competitor. You are going to have what you want, but in such a way that when you get it, everyone else around you is going to have more than they have now. I am sure there are many, who make vast sums of money, proceeding in direct opposition, with the statements in the above paragraph, but I would like to add an explanation. Individuals who get rich by such means, do so sometimes, merely because of their extraordinary ability, on the plane of competition. And sometimes, unconsciously, they relate to the substance, in their great purposes and movements for general fortification, through the Industrial Revolution. Rockefeller, Carnegie, Morgan and others, have been the unconscious agents of the Supreme, in the necessary work, of systematizing and organizing productive industry. And in the end, their work will contribute immensely, towards the increased life of all. But their days are numbered. They have organized production, and will soon be overtaken by the agents of the multitude, who will organize the machinery of distribution. They are like the reptilian monsters of the prehistoric areas. They play a necessary role in the evolutionary process, but the same power that produced them, will dispose of them. And it is well to bear in mind that they have never been really rich. A record of the private lives of most of this class will show that they have been rather vile and groveling. Riches secured on the competitive plane, are never satisfactory and permanent. They are yours today, and tomorrow someone else's. Remember that, if you are to become rich in a scientific and certain way, you must get out entirely, from the thought of competition. You must never think that supply is limited. As soon as you begin to think, that all money is being hoarded and controlled by others, and that you must exercise laws to stop this process, and so on. At that moment you fall into the competing mind, and your power to cause creation, goes away for that moment. And what is worse, it will probably stop the creative movements, which you have already started. Know that there are countless millions of dollars, represented in gold in the mountains of the earth, not even discovered. And know that if there were not, more would be created from the thinking substance, in order to satisfy your needs. Know that the money you need will come, even, if it is necessary for 1,000 men to be driven, to discover new gold mines tomorrow. Never look at the visible supply. Look always, at the unlimited riches in the amorphous substance, and know that they will come to you as fast, as you can receive and use them. No one, by hoarding the visible supply, can prevent you from receiving what is yours. So never allow yourself to think for an instant, that all the best places to build will be taken, before you are ready to build your house, unless you hurry. Never worry about the big companies and consortiums, and be frightened because they will come soon to buy everything. Never panic because you think you will lose what you want because someone else will snatch it away. That may not happen. You are not seeking something that is someone else's property, you are causing what you want to be created out of the amorphous substance and limitless supply. Stick to the following statement: there is a thinking matter, from which all things are made, and which, in its original state, permeates and fills the interstices of the universe. A thought in this substance, produces the object which is imagined by the thought. A person can form things in his thoughts, and by impressing his thought on the amorphous substance, he can cause the object he intended to create. Chapter 6. How Wealth Comes to You. When I say you do not have to incite aggregations, I do not mean that you do not have to incite some agreement at all, or that you are above the necessity of having any dealings with your associates. What I mean is that you will not need to bargain with them unfairly. You don't have to get something in return for nothing, but you can give each person something more than you take from them. You cannot give someone more in monetary value then you take from them, but you can give them more in use value than the monetary value of the object you take. The paper, ink and other materials in this book may not be worth the money you paid for it, but if the ideas suggested in it bring you thousands of dollars, you were not cheated by the one who sold it to you. You have been given a great use value, in exchange for a small monetary value. Suppose I have a painting by one of the great artists, which, in a developed society, is worth thousands of dollars. I take it to Baffin Bay, and by my salesmanship, I get a native resident of the place, to give me a bundle of furs valued at $500. I have really fooled him, because he has no use for the painting. It has no use to him, it will add nothing to his life. But suppose now, I give someone a gun valued at $50 in exchange for furs. Thus, he has made a good bargain. He can put the gun to use. It will give him a lot more furs and a lot more food, it will add to his life in every way, and he can become rich. When you go from the competitive plane to the creative plane, you can scrutinize your business transactions very strictly. And if you are selling things, which do not add more to someone's life, than what that person gives you in return, you can afford to stop. And if you are in a business that affects people, get out of it immediately. Give everyone more in use value, than you take away in monetary value. Then you will be adding more to the life of the world, in every business transaction. If you have people working for you, you must take from them more in monetary value, than you pay them in salary. But you can organize your business, so that it complies with the principle of progress, and so every employee who wants it, can advance a little bit every day. You can make your business do for your employees, what this book is doing for you. You can conduct your business so that it is a kind of ladder, by which every employee who is in trouble can climb up the ladder to riches for himself. And given the opportunity, if he doesn't make it, it won't be his fault. And finally, just because he is about to cause the creation of his wealth from the amorphous substance, which permeates everything around him, it will not create what he wants out of nothing, and make it appear before his eyes. If you want a sewing machine, for example, I am not trying to tell you that you should imprint the thought of a sewing machine on the thinking substance, until the machine is formed without hands, inside a room or anywhere else. But if you want a sewing machine, hold the mental image of it, with the most positive certainty, that the machine is being made, or is on its way. After forming the thought, have the most absolute and unquestioning faith, that the machine is coming. Never think or speak of it in any other way than being certain that it is coming. Affirm that the machine is already yours. It will be brought to you by the power of supreme intelligence acting upon the minds of men. If you live in Maine, it may be that a person will come from Texas or Japan, to engage in some transaction, which will result in your getting what you want. If so, the whole affair will be for that person's benefit, just as it is for yours. Do not forget that the thinking substance is through everything, in everyone, communicating with everyone, and can influence everyone. The thinking substance's desire for a fuller and better life has caused the creation of all the sewing machines already made, and may cause the creation of thousands more. Something it will do, when people get moving, with desire and faith, and with proceeding in the right way. You can certainly have a sewing machine in your home, and it is as true, as you can have anything else, or things you want, and which you will use for the progress of your own life, and the lives of others. You need not hesitate to ask abundantly. It is the Father's desire to give you the kingdom, Jesus said. Jesus said, the original substance wants to revive all that is possible in you, and wants you to have all that you can and will use, to live life in the most abundant way. If you fix in your consciousness the fact, that your desire for wealth, is one with the desire for supreme power, for fuller expression, your faith becomes invincible. I once saw a child sitting at a piano, vainly trying to get harmony out of its keys. I saw that he was distressed and angry, because of his inability to play real music. I asked him the cause of his irritation, and he replied, I can feel the music in me, but I can't get my hands to do it right. The music in him was the urgency of the original substance, enclosing all the possibilities of all life. All that there was of music, was seeking expression through the child. God, the only substance, tries to live, do and enjoy things, through humanity. He tells us, I want hands to build beautiful structures, play divine harmonies, make glorious paintings. I want feet to do my errands, eyes to see my beauties, tongues to speak mighty truths, and sing wonderful songs, and so on. All that there is of possibility, is seeking expression through people. God wants those who can play music, have pianos and any other instruments, and have the means to cultivate their talents, to the fullest expression. He wants those who can appreciate beauty, to be able to surround themselves with beautiful things. He wants those who can discern the truth, to have every opportunity to travel and observe. He wants those who can appreciate a dress, adorn themselves with beautiful clothes, and those who can taste the best food, enabling them to be luxuriously nourished. He wants all these things, because it is He Himself who enjoys and appreciates them, they are His creation. It is God who wants to represent, sing and enjoy beauty, and proclaim the truth, and to wear fine clothes, and eat good food. It is God who works in you, to desire and to do, said the Apostle Paul. The desire you feel for riches is the infinite, seeking to express itself in you, as it sought to express itself in the boy at the piano. So you need not hesitate to ask big. Your task is to focus, and express that desire to God, although this is a difficult subject, with most people. They still hold to some of the old idea that poverty and self-sacrifice are pleasing to God. They follow poverty as if it were part of the plan, a necessity of nature. They have the idea that God has finished His work, and done all He could, and that most people must be poor, because there is not enough to go around. They cling so much to this erroneous thought, that they feel sorry to ask for wealth. They try to want no more than a very modest capacity, just enough to be barely in mediocrity. Now I take up the case of a student, who had been told that he had to have in mind, a clear idea of the things he wanted. All so that the creative thought of things could be impressed upon the amorphous substance. He was a very poor man, who lived in a rented house, and had only what he earned from day to day, and could not hold on to the fact that all wealth was his. So after thinking on the subject, he decided that he should reasonably ask for a new carpet for the floor of his best room, and a coal stove, to heat his house during the winter. Following the instructions given in this book, he got these things in a few months. But then he realized, he had not asked for enough. He walked through the house where he lived, and planned all the improvements he would like to make to it. Mentally, he added a door and a window on one side, and a new room on the other, until he completed it in his mind as his ideal house, and then planned its furnishings. Keeping the idea complete in his mind, he began to live in the right way, and moving towards what he wanted. Now he has that house, which he remodeled, after the formation of his mental image. And now, even with great faith, he is going for better things. This happened to him according to his faith, and so it is with you, and with all of us. Chapter 7. Gratitude. The examples given in the last chapter will have led the reader to the fact that the first step in becoming rich is to bring the idea of your desires into amorphous substance. This is true, and he will see that to do so, it is necessary to relate to the amorphous intelligence in a harmonious way. To ensure this harmonious relationship, it is a matter of vital and paramount importance to give place to your discussion and give you instructions. If you follow them, they will be accurate in bringing you into perfect harmony with the supreme power or God. The whole process of mental adjustment and harmonization can be summed up in one word: gratitude. First, you must believe that there is an intelligent substance, from which all things proceed. Second, believe that this substance gives you everything you desire. And third, associate yourself with it, through a deep and immense sense of gratitude. Many people who order their lives strictly, in one way or another, are poor because of their lack of gratitude. Having received a gift from God, they cut the cord that connects them to Him, by failing to make the recognition. It is easy to understand that the closer we live to the source of wealth, the more wealth we will receive. And it is also easy to understand that the soul, which is always grateful, lives in closer contact with God than the one who never seeks Him in the recognition of gratitude. The more we fix our minds in gratitude with the Supreme, when good things come to us, the more things we will receive, and the faster they will come to us. And the reason is simply that the mental attitude of gratitude brings the mind into close contact with the source from which blessings come. If it is new to you that the idea that gratitude brings the mind into close harmony with the creative energies of the universe, consider it good, and you will see that it is true. The good things you already have come to you, along the line of obedience to certain laws. Gratitude will guide your mind, through the way things come, and keep you in close harmony with creative thinking, and prevent you from falling into competitive thinking. Only gratitude will keep your gaze towards the whole, and prevent you from falling into the error of thinking that the supply is limited, and doing what would be fatal to your hopes. There is a law of gratitude, and it is absolutely necessary that you follow the law, if you want to get the results you want. The law of gratitude is the natural principle that action and reaction are always equal, and in opposite directions. The grateful expansion of your mind in praise of gratitude, with supreme intelligence, is a liberating or expanding force. You can reach that which was intended, and the reaction is an instantaneous movement towards you. If you draw near to God, He will draw near to you. That is the statement of psychological truth. And if your gratitude is strong and constant, the reaction in the amorphous substance will also be strong and constant, the movement of the things you want will always be toward you. Note the grateful attitude that Jesus took, how He always seemed to say, "I thank you, Father, that you always hear me." You cannot exert much power without gratitude, because it is gratitude which keeps us connected with power. But the value of gratitude is not only to give you more blessings in the future. Without gratitude, you cannot avoid unhappy thoughts concerning the way things are. The moment you allow your mind to dwell on dissatisfaction with the way things are, you begin to lose ground. Fix your attention on the common, the ordinary, the poor, the squalid and the bad, and your mind takes the form of these things. It will then transmit these forms to the amorphous. And the common, the poor, the squalid and the bad will come to you. To allow your mind to dwell in the lower, is to become lower, and to surround yourself with lower things. On the other hand, to fix your attention on the best, is to surround yourself with the best, to become the best. The creative power within us, makes us the image, to which we give our attention. We are also made of thinking substance, and it always takes the form of what is thought. The grateful mind is constantly fixed on the best. Therefore, it tends to become the best. Take the form or character of the best, and you will receive the best. Faith is also born of gratitude. The grateful mind continually hopes for good things, and hope becomes faith. The reaction of gratitude upon our own mind produces faith, and every ripple that comes from gratitude increases faith. The person who has no sense of gratitude cannot long maintain a living faith, and without a living faith, you cannot become rich in the creative way, as we shall see in the following chapters. It is necessary, then, to cultivate the habit of being grateful for every good thing that goes towards you, and to give thanks constantly. And because all these things have contributed to your advancement, you should include all things in your gratitude. Do not waste too much time thinking or talking about the faults or wrongdoings of those in power. The organization of the world that they have made has created your opportunity, everything you have really comes to you because of them. Don't get angry with corrupt politicians. If it were not for the politicians, we would fall into anarchy, and your opportunity would be greatly diminished. God has worked long and patiently to bring us to where we are, in industry and government, and He will continue His work. There is not the slightest doubt that He will get rid of the plutocrats, tycoons of consortiums, captains of industry and politicians, as soon as they are godly, but in the meantime, they are all needed. Remember that they are helping to fix the transmission lines, along which riches will come to you, if you are grateful. This will bring you into harmonious relationships with the good in everyone, and the good in everyone will move to you. Chapter 8. Thinking the Right Way. Go back to Chapter 6, and read again, the story of the man who formed a mental picture of his house, and you will have a good idea of the initial step toward enrichment. You must form a clear and definite picture of all that you want. You cannot convey an idea unless you have it. You must have it before you give it, and many people fail to impress the thinking substance, because they have only a vague and cloudy concept of the things they want to do, have, or be. It is not enough that you have a general desire for riches, to do good. Everyone has that desire. It is not enough that you have a desire to travel, to see things, to live more, etc. If you were to send a message to a friend, you would not send the letters of the alphabet in order for him to construct the message himself, nor would you take the words at random from the dictionary. You must send a coherent sentence, one that means something. When you try to impress your desires on the thinking substance, remember that you must do so with a coherent statement. You must know what you want, and be specific and exact. You will never become rich or initiate creative power by sending out unformed longings or vague desires. Examine your desires, as the man I described did his house. See what you want, and have a clear mental picture of it, as if you want to see it come true. That clear mental image, you must have it continually in your mind. As the sailor has in his mind the port, to which he is going to take the ship, you must keep your face towards the image, during all the time. You must not lose sight of it. It is not necessary to do concentration exercises, nor to establish special moments to pray and to affirm, nor to enter in silence, nor to make hidden maneuvers, nor to do any other maneuvers. Nor to make hidden maneuvers of any kind. All those things are good enough, but all you need is to know what you want, and want it desperately, to keep it in your thoughts. Spend as much of your free time as you can in contemplating this image. No one needs to exercise to concentrate their mind on an object they really want. It is the things that do not really interest you that require effort to fix your attention on them. And unless you really want to become rich, the desire will be strong enough to keep your thoughts directed to the purpose. As much as the magnetic poles keep the compass needle, it will hardly be important for you to try to carry out the instructions given in this book. The method here set forth is for people whose desire for riches is strong enough to overcome mental laziness and love of ease, and make them work. The clearer and more exact you make the picture, and the more you dwell on it, bringing out all its charming details, the stronger your desire will be. And the stronger your desire, the easier it will be to keep your mind fixed on the image of what you want. However, it takes more than merely looking at the clear image. If that is all you do, you are only a dreamer, and you will have little or no power of realization. Behind your clear vision, there must be the purpose to realize it, to bring it out of intangible expression. And behind this purpose, there must be an invincible and unshakable faith that the object is already yours, that it is at hand, and that you have only to take it. Live in a new house, mentally, until it takes shape physically around you. In the mental realm, enter immediately into the full rejoicing of all the things you want. Whatever you ask for when you pray, believe that you receive it, and you shall have it, Jesus said. See all the time the things you want, as if they were already around you. See yourself having them and using them. Make use of them in imagination, just as you would use them when they are in your hands. Reside in your mental image, until it is clear and distinguishable, and then take the mental attitude of belonging towards all that is in that image. Take possession of it, in mind, in full faith, that it is indeed all yours. Hold on to this mental possession. Do not lose yourself for an instant, in the faith that it is real. And remember, what was said in the previous chapter about gratitude, be grateful for this, for as long as you wait for it all to take shape. The person who can thank God sincerely, for the things he has so far, and that he has in the imagination, has real faith. This one will become rich, and will cause the creation of whatever he wants. He does not need to pray repeatedly, for the things he wants. He does not need to tell God every day. Your task is to intelligently formulate your desire, for the things that make your life better, arrange this desire into a coherent whole. And then imprint the whole desire on the amorphous substance, which has the power and the will, to give you everything you want. Do not make this impression by repeating a series of words, do it by holding the vision, with the firm purpose of achieving it, and with the unalterable faith that you will achieve it. The answer to prayer is not according to your faith when you speak, but according to your faith when you work. You cannot impress the mind of God by having a Sabbath day, to tell him what you want, and then forget it for the rest of the week. You cannot impress him, by having special times to go into your closet and pray, and then dismiss the matter from your mind, until it is time to pray again. Oral prayer is good enough and has its effect, especially on yourself, in clarifying your vision and strengthening your faith, but it is not your oral requests that get you what you want. To be enriched you don't need a sweet hour of prayer, you do need to pray without ceasing. And by praying, I mean holding fast to your vision, with the purpose of causing your creation in a solid way, and the faith that it will do so. Believe that you receive them. Once you have clearly formed your vision, all matter is inclined to receive. When you have formed it, it is good to make an oral affirmation, and address the supreme gratitude. Then, from that moment on, you should, in the mind, receive what you ask for. Live in a new house, put on fine clothes, get into a car, go on a trip, and confidently plan wonderful journeys. Think and express the things you asked for, in terms of the present. Imagine an environment and a financial condition, exactly as you want them, and live all the time in that mental environment, and financial condition, until they take physical form. However, be careful that you do not do this as a mere dreamer, and builder of castles in the air. Hold fast to the faith, that the imaginary is being realized, and to your purpose to realize it. Remember that it is faith and purpose, in the use of imagination, that makes the difference, between the scientist and the dreamer. And having learned this fact, it is here that you must learn the correct use of the will. Chapter 9. How to use the will. To become wealthy in a scientific way, you need not apply your willpower to anything else but yourself. In any case, you have no right to do otherwise. It is wrong to apply your will on other men and women, to get them to do what you want them to do. It is as blatantly wrong to force people with mental power as it is to force them with physical power. If you force people to do things for you by physical force, it reduces them to slavery, and forcing them with mental power means accomplishing exactly the same thing. The only difference is the methods. If taking things away from people is theft, then taking things away with mental power is also theft. There is no difference in principle. You do not have the right to use your willpower on another person, not even, for his sake, because you do not know what is convenient for him. The science of becoming rich does not require you to apply the power of force on another person, in any way. There is no slight need to do so. In truth, any attempt to use your will over others will only defeat your purpose. You do not need to apply your will upon things, to force them to come to you. That would simply be trying to force God, and it would be foolish and useless. You do not have to force God to give you good things, it would be like using willpower, to make the sun rise. You do not have to use your willpower, to conquer an unfriendly God, or make stubborn and rebellious forces fulfill your requests. Substance is your friend, and is more eager to give you what you want, than what you should receive. To become rich, you need only use your willpower with yourself. When you know what to think and what to do, you must then use your will, in forcing yourself to think, and do the right things. That is the legitimate use of the will in getting what you want. Use it to hold on to the right course. Use your will to keep yourself thinking, and acting in the right way. Don't try to project your will, your thoughts or your mind out of space, just to act on things or people. Keep your mind at home. It can accomplish more there than anywhere else. Use your mind to form a mental picture of what you want, and hold that vision with faith and purpose. And use your will to keep your mind working in the right way. The firmer and steadier your faith and purpose, the quicker you will become rich, because you will make only positive impressions in substance, and not neutralize or unbalance them with negative impressions. The image of your desires, held with faith and purpose, is occupied by the amorphous and permeates it, over great distances, throughout the universe, throughout all that we know. As this impression expands, all things are fixed, so that they move towards its realization. Every living thing, every inanimate thing, and things that have not been created, move to become what you want. All things begin to be induced in that direction. All things begin to move towards you. The minds of people everywhere are influenced to do the things necessary to fulfill your desires and work for you unconsciously. But you can check all this, by starting a negative impression on the amorphous substance. It is so true, that doubt or unbelief, makes everything move away from you, as faith and purpose bring everything closer to you. It is by not understanding this, that most people fail. Every hour or moment that you spend attending to your doubts and fears, every hour that you spend worrying, every hour that your soul is possessed by unbelief, sets a current of alienation, in the realm of intelligent substance. All promises are upon those who believe, and upon them alone. Since faith is what matters, it is necessary for him to guard his thoughts. And as your faith is shaped to a greater extent, by the things you observe and think, it is important that you carefully control, to the things you attach importance. And here the will comes into use, because it is through your will, that you determine what things you will fix your attention on. If you want to become rich, you should not make a study of poverty. Things do not materialize by thinking about their opposites. Health is never attained by studying and thinking about disease. Righteousness is not promoted, by studying and thinking of sin, and none became rich, by studying and thinking of poverty. Medicine as the science of disease, has increased disease. Religion as the science of sin, has promoted sin and economy, as the study of poverty will fill the world, with misery and want. Do not talk about poverty, do not investigate or worry about it, and do not give importance to the causes that originated it, for you can do nothing about it. What you should be concerned about is the cure. Do not spend your time in what is known as work, or charitable movements, for most charity tends to perpetuate the misery it seeks to eradicate. I am not saying that you should be hard-hearted or cruel, and refuse to listen to the cry of need, but you should not cry to eradicate poverty, in any of the conventional forms. Put poverty behind you, and all that pertains to it, and do good. Become rich. That is the best way to help the poor. You cannot keep the mental image of becoming rich, if you fill your mind with images of poverty, and the diseases that go with it. Do not read books or papers, which give circumstantial accounts of misery, of the horrors of child labor, etc. Do not read anything that fills your mind with melancholy images of need and suffering. You cannot help the poor in the least, knowing these things, and the widely spread knowledge of them, does not tend at all to get rid of poverty. What tends to get rid of poverty, is not to have the images of poverty in the mind, but rather to have images of wealth, abundance and possibility, within the minds of the poor. You are not abandoning the poor in their misery, when you refuse to allow their minds to be filled with images of that misery. Poverty can be undone, not by increasing the number of good-hearted people who think about poverty, but by increasing the number of poor people who set out in faith to become rich. The poor do not need charity, they need inspiration. Charity only gives them a piece of bread, to keep them alive in their misery, or gives them entertainment to make them forget, perhaps for an hour or two. But inspiration can make them emerge from their misery. If you want to help the poor, show them that they can become rich. Prove it by becoming rich yourself. The only way poverty will be eradicated from this world is to get a large and steadily growing number of people to practice the teachings of this book. People must be taught how to become rich through creation, not competition. Every person who becomes rich by competition knocks down the ladder he climbs, while others stay down. Every person who becomes rich by creation opens a path for others to follow, and inspires them to do so. You are not showing hardness of heart or a cruel disposition, when you refuse to pity poverty, see poverty, read about poverty, think or talk about it, or listen to those who do talk about it. Use your willpower, keeping your mind off the subject of poverty, and keep it fixed with faith and purpose, on the vision of what you want, and will create. Chapter 10. Advanced Use of the Will. You cannot maintain a true and clear vision of wealth, if you are constantly paying attention to opposing images, whether external or imaginary. Don't count your past financial problems, if you have had them. Do not dwell on them. Don't talk about the poverty of your parents, or the difficulties of your life. To do any of these things is to mentally classify yourself as poor, and will certainly change the movement of things toward you. Put poverty and all things pertaining to it behind you. You have accepted an accurate theory of the universe as true, and all your hopes of happiness are pinned on it. What can you gain by paying attention to conflicting theories? Do not read books that tell you that the world is coming to an end, or do not read the writings of scandalized and pessimistic philosophers who say that we are going to the devil. The world is not going to the devil, it is going to God. It is a wonderful transformation. It is true. There may be a great many good things in present conditions, which are unpleasant. But then, why study them when they are already dying, and when the study of them only tends to slow their death, and keep them with us? Why give time and attention to things that are being removed by revolutionary growth, when you can only hasten their removal by promoting evolutionary growth, as far as your part in it goes? No matter how horrible the conditions in certain countries, sections, or places may seem to be, you waste your time, and destroy your own possibilities by dwelling in them. You should take an interest in the world that is becoming rich. Think of the riches to which the world is going, instead of the poverty that is growing elsewhere. And keep in mind that the only way, in which you can help the world to increase the riches, is by becoming rich yourself, through the creative method, and not the competitive one. Pay attention only to the riches, and do not concentrate on poverty. When you think or talk about the poor, think and talk about them, as if they are becoming rich, as those who are being rewarded instead of punished. Then, they and others will grab the inspiration, and start looking for the way out. Because I say that you should give all your time, mind and thought to riches, does not mean that it is sordid or evil. Becoming truly wealthy is the noblest aspiration you can have in your life, because it includes everything. On the competitive plane, the struggle to become rich is an unholy fight for power over others, but when it comes to the creative mind, all this changes. Whatever is possible in the way of greatness, of service and high effort, comes by way of becoming rich, because everything is possible by the use of things. You cannot aspire to anything greater and more valuable, I repeat, as becoming rich. So you must fix your attention on your mental image of wealth, to the exclusion of everything, whatever may tend to obscure or cloud that vision. Some people remain in poverty, because they are ignorant of the fact that there is wealth for them, and this can best be taught, by showing them the form of opulence, in their own person and practice. Others are poor because, while they feel that there is a way out, they are too indolent intellectually to put forth the mental effort necessary to find the way and walk the path. Others still are poor because, while they have some notion of science, they have become so bogged down and lost in the maze of theories that they do not know which way to turn. They try a mixture of many systems, and fail in all of them. For these people, the best way is to show them the right way, by your own example and practice. The best thing you can do for the world is to make the best of yourself. You cannot serve God and humanity in any more effective way than by becoming rich. That is, if you become rich by the creative method, and not by the competitive one. Another thing. We maintain that this book gives in detail the principles of the science of becoming rich, and if this is true, you need not read any other book on the subject. This may seem closed and self-serving. But consider, there is no other scientific method of computation, in mathematics, than addition, subtraction, multiplication and division, and there is no other possible method. There is only one best distance between 2 points, and it is the shortest. There is only one way to think scientifically, and that is to think in a way that leads to the simplest and most direct route to the goal. No one has formulated a system more summarized or less complex than the one proposed here. It has stumbled on everything non-fundamental. When you begin this, put all the others aside. Put them all out of your mind, and read this book every day. Keep it with you. Keep it in your memory, and do not think of any other systems or theories. If you do, you will begin to have doubts and be uncertain, so you will fluctuate in your thinking, and begin to fail. After you have done the right thing, and become rich, you can study all other systems, as well as you want. And read only the most optimistic comments, from the world news, those that are in harmony with your created image. Do not dabble in theosophy, spiritualism or related studies. Perhaps the dead are still alive and around, but if so, leave them alone, mind your own business. Wherever the spirits of the dead are, they have their own work to do, and we have no right to interfere with them. We cannot help them, and it is very unlikely that they can help us, even if we have any right to trespass into their space. Leave the dead and the afterlife alone, and solve your own problem, which is to become rich. If you begin to mingle with the occult, you will begin a crossing of currents, which will surely wreck your hopes. This and the preceding chapters have led us to the following statements of basic fact: there is a thinking matter, from which all things are made, and which, in its original state, pervades, permeates, penetrates and fills the interstices of the universe. A thought in this substance produces the object which is imagined by the thought. A person can form things in his thoughts, and by imprinting his thought on the amorphous substance, he can cause the object he intended to create. To do this, a person must move from the competitive mind to the creative mind. He must form a mental image of the things he wants. Then keep this image in his thoughts, with the firm purpose of getting what is wanted. An unwavering faith, that you get what you want, closing your mind, against all that may tend to break your purpose, cloud your vision, or extinguish your faith. And in addition to this, we shall now see that you must live and act in the right way. Chapter 11. Acting in the right way. Thought is the creative power or propelling force, which causes the creative power to act. Thinking in the right way will bring you riches, but it should not be based on thought alone, leaving aside personal action. That is the basis, on which many scientific thinkers meet with failure, the failure to connect thought with personal action. We have not yet reached the state of development, even assuming that such a state is possible, in which a person can create directly from amorphous substance, without the process of nature or the work of human hands. A person must not only think, but his personal action must complement his thinking. With thought, you can make the gold in the heart of the mountains be brought to you, but it will not be mined, refined, or minted on either side by itself, nor will it come rolling in, looking for a way to get into your pockets. Under the moving power of the Supreme Spirit, the business of the people are so ordered, that someone will be guided to extract the gold for you. Business transactions will be directed, so that the gold will come to you. And you must have your own business, so that you will be able to receive it, when it comes to you. Your thought makes all things, animate and inanimate, work to bring you what you want. But your own personal activity must be such, that you may receive just what you want when it comes to you. You must not take it as charity, nor must you steal it. You must give every man more in use value, than he gives you in monetary value. The scientific use of thought, consists in forming a clear and distinct mental image, of that which you want, holding fast to your purpose to have what you want, and materializing with great faith, that you will receive what you want. Do not try to project your thought, in a mysterious or hidden way, with the idea of making it come out, and do things for you. That is a waste of effort, and will weaken your power to think healthily. The action of thought in becoming rich is clearly explained in the preceding chapters. Your faith and purpose positively impress your vision upon the amorphous substance, which has the same desire for more life than you have. And this vision, received from you, puts all the creative forces at work, within and through their regular channels of action, but directed at you. It is not your task to guide or supervise the creative process. All you have to do is retain your vision, hold on to your purpose, and maintain your faith and gratitude. But you must act in the right way, so that you can appropriate what is yours, when it comes to you, and so you can find the things you have in your image, and put them in the right places as they come. You can really see the truth of it. When things come to you, they will be in the hands of others, who will ask you for an equivalent for them. And you can only have what is yours, by giving the other person, what is legally his. Your purse will not be transformed into a bag of fortune, which will always be full of money, without any effort on your part. This is the crucial point in the science of becoming rich, right here, where personal thought and action must be combined. There are many, many people who, consciously or unconsciously, put the creative forces into action, with the strength and persistence of their desires, but who remain poor, because they do not give to receive the things they want, when they come. With thought, whatever you want is brought to you. With action, you receive it. Whatever your action, it is evident that you must act now. You cannot act in the past, and it is essential to the clarity of your mental picture that you put the past out of your mind. You cannot act in the future, because the future has not yet arrived. And you cannot say how you want to act in a future eventuality until that eventuality has arrived. Because you are not in the right business or environment now, do not think that you must postpone action until you find the right business or environment. And don't spend time in the present, thinking about how you will solve future emergencies. Have faith in your ability to deal with emergencies when they come. If you act in the present, with your mind in the future, your present action will be split-minded and ineffective. Put your mind in the present. Do not lead your creative impulse to the original substance, and then sit back and wait for the results. If you do, you will never get anything. Act now. There is no better time than now. If you want to get ready to receive what you want, you must start now. And your action, whatever it is, probably must be in your current business or job, and on people and things, in your current environment. You cannot act where you are not, you cannot act where you have been, and you cannot act where you are going to be. You can act only where you are. Don't bother with whether yesterday's work was well done or not, do today's work well. Don't try to do tomorrow's work now, there will be time enough to do it when the time comes. Do not try, by occult or mystical means, to act upon people, or things that are beyond your reach. Do not wait for a change of environment before acting, have a change of environment with action. You can act on the environment you are in now, as to have it transferred to a better environment. Hold with faith and purpose, the vision of yourself in a better environment, but act upon your present environment, with all your heart, and with all your strength and mind. Don't spend time daydreaming, or building castles in the air, hold on to the vision of what you want, and act now. Don't set out looking for some new thing to do, or some strange, unusual or remarkable action to do, as a first step to becoming rich. It is likely that your actions, at least for a little while, will be the same as you have done in the past, but you must start doing these actions in the right way, which will surely make you rich. If you are in any business, and you feel that it is not the right one for you, do not wait until you find the right one to start acting. Don't feel discouraged or sorry because you are in the wrong place, so you can't find the right one, and no one is in the wrong business, so you can't get the right one. Keep the vision of yourself, in the right business, for the purpose of getting there, and the faith that you will get there and are getting there, but act in your present business. Use your present business, as a means to a better one, and use your present environment, as a means to get to a better one. Your vision of the right business, if held with faith and purpose, will cause the supreme power to move you, into the right business. And your action, if done in the right way, will move you into that business. If you are an employee or a wage earner, and you feel that you must change places to get what you want, do not project your thought into space, and trust it to get you another job. You will probably fail to do so. Hold the vision of yourself in the job you want, while acting with faith and purpose in the job you have, and you will certainly get the job you want. Your vision and faith will set the creative force in motion to bring it to you, and your action will cause the forces in your own environment to move you to the place you want. Closing this chapter, we will add another statement to our summary: there is a thinking matter, from which all things are made, and which, in its original state, pervades, permeates, penetrates and fills the interstices of the universe. A thought in this substance produces the object which is imagined by the thought. A person can form things in his thoughts, and by imprinting his thought on the amorphous substance, he can cause the object he intended to create. To do this, a person must move from the competitive mind to the creative mind. He must form a mental image of the things he wants, and hold this image in his thoughts, with the firm purpose of getting what he wants, and the unwavering faith that he gets what he wants. Closing your mind, against all that may tend to break your purpose, cloud your vision, or extinguish your faith. So in order that he may receive what he wants when it comes, a person must act now, upon the people and things in his present environment. Chapter 12. Efficient Action. He must use his thought, as indicated in the preceding chapters, and begin to do what he can do where he is, and he must do all he can where he is. You can only advance, by being greater than your present place, and no one is greater than his present place, when the work pertaining to that place is left undone. The world advances only for those who fully fill their present place. If no one fully fills their present place, you can see that there is a regress in everything. Those who do not fully fill their present places are dead weight in society, government, commerce and industry. They must be carried by others at great cost. The progress of the world is slowed only by those who do not fill their place. They belong to an ancient age, and their tendency is towards degeneration. No society could advance, if all were smaller than their place. Social evolution is guided by the law of physical and mental evolution. In the animal world, evolution is caused by the excess of life. When an organism has more life than it can express in the functions of its own plane, it develops the organs of a higher plane, and a new species originates. There would have been no new species, but for the organisms which filled their places. The law is exactly the same for you. Becoming rich depends on your application of this principle to your own business. Every day can be a success or a failure, and it is the successful days that bring you what you want. If every day is a failure, you can never become rich, while if every day is a success, you cannot fail to become rich. If there is something that can be done today, and you don't do it, you have failed as far as that work is concerned, and the consequences can be more disastrous than you imagine. You cannot foresee the results of even the most trivial case. You do not know the workings of all the forces, which have been set in motion in your favor. Much may depend on what is done in a single act, and it may be that very thing that opens the door of opportunity to a great many possibilities. You will never know all the combinations that the Supreme Intelligence is doing for you in the world of things and human affairs. Your negligence or failure in doing some simple action can cause a great delay in getting what you want. Do every day everything you can do that day. There is, however, a limitation or qualification of the above, which you must keep in mind. You must not overwork yourself, or blindly strive within your business, in trying to get as many things done as possible, in as little time as possible. You should not try to do tomorrow's work today, or do a week's work in one day. It is not really the number of things you do, but the efficiency of each action, that counts. Each act is, in itself, a success or failure. Each act is, in itself, effective and efficient, or ineffective and inefficient. Every inefficient act is a failure, and if you spend your life doing inefficient acts, your whole life will be a failure. The more things you do, the worse for you, if all your acts are inefficient. On the other hand, every efficient act is a total success, and if every act in your life is efficient, your whole life will be a success. The cause of failure is doing too many things inefficiently, and not doing enough things efficiently. You will see that it is an obvious proposition, if you do not do any inefficient act, and if you do a sufficient number of efficient acts, you will become rich. If it is possible for you to make every act efficient, you will see again that the attainment of wealth comes down to an exact science, just like mathematics. The question now turns to the question whether he can make every act a success. It certainly can. You can make every act a success, because all power is working with you, and all power does not fail. Power is at your service, and to make every act efficient, you have only to put power into it. Every action is either strong or weak, and when an action is strong, you are acting in the right way, which will make you rich. Every act can be made strong and effective by keeping your vision while doing it, and putting all the power of your faith and purpose into it. It is at this point that people who separate mental power from mental action fail. They use the power of mind in one place and time, and act in another way, in another place and time. So their acts are not successful, also, much of them are inefficient. But if all power goes into every act, no matter how common, every act will be a success. And since it is the nature of things, that each success opens the way to other successes, your progress toward what you want, and the progress of what you want toward you, will become faster and faster. Remember that successful action is cumulative in its results. Since the desire for more life is inherent in all things, when a person begins to move toward more things join him, and the influence of this desire is multiplied. Do every day everything you can during that day, and in an efficient manner. By saying that you must keep your vision, while doing every act, whether trivial or common, I do not mean that it is necessary to see all the time the clear vision of its minutest details. It should be the work of your hours of rest, that you use to imagine the details of your vision, and contemplate it until it is fixed in your memory. If you want quick results, spend practically all your free time in this practice. With continuous contemplation, you will get a fixed and firm image of what you want. Even down to the smallest details, in your mind and completely transferred to the mind of the amorphous substance. Which in your working hours, you will only need to mentally refer to the image, to stimulate your faith and purpose, and have your best effort put into it. Contemplate your image in the hours of rest, until your consciousness is so filled with it that you can instantly grasp it. You will become so enthusiastic about your promises that the mere thought of them will attract the strongest energies of your whole being. Let us repeat our summary again, and by slightly changing the final statements, we shall arrive at the point we have reached. There is a thinking matter, from which all things are made, and which, in its original state, pervades, pervades and fills the interstices of the universe. A thought in this substance produces the object which is imagined by the thought. A person can form things in his thoughts, and by imprinting his thought on the amorphous substance, he can cause the object he intended to create. To do this, a person must pass from the competitive mind to the creative mind. He must form a clear mental image of the things he wants, and he must do, with faith and purpose, all that he can do that day, doing each thing separately, and in an efficient manner. Chapter 13. Getting into the right business. Success, in any particular business, depends in the first place, in a well-developed state, upon the requisite aptitudes, which you possess in that business. Without good musical aptitude, none can succeed as a music teacher. Without well-developed mathematical aptitudes, none can achieve great success in any of the branches of mathematics. Without tact and commercial aptitudes, no one can succeed in a mercantile profession. But having, in a well-developed state, the aptitudes required in your particular vocation, does not assure you that you will become rich. There are musicians who are remarkably talented, and who are poor. There are blacksmiths, carpenters and many more people, who have excellent mechanical skill, but who are not rich. And there are merchants, with good skills to negotiate with people who, however, fail. Different skills are tools. It is essential to have tools, but it is also essential that these tools are used in the right way. One can take a sharp saw, a square, a good blueprint, etc., and build a beautiful piece of furniture. Another man may take the same tools, and set to work to duplicate this article, but his output is disastrous. He does not know how to use these good tools in the right way. The different aptitudes of his mind are tools, with which he must do the work that makes him rich. It will be easier for you to succeed if you go into the business for which you are well equipped with the mental tools. Generally, you will do better in the business, in which you must use your strongest skills, the one for which you are best equipped. But there are also limitations to this statement. No one should consider his or her vocation as irrevocably fixed, because of the tendencies he or she was born with. You can get rich in any business, because if you don't have that talent, you can still develop it. It simply means, you will have to get the tools, as you go along, instead of confining yourself to the use of those you were born with. It will be easier for you to succeed in a vocation, for which you already have the talents in a well-developed way, but you can succeed in any vocation. Because you can develop any rudimentary talent, and there is no talent for which you do not have, at least, the rudimentary. He will become rich more easily in terms of effort, if he does everything for which he was best equipped, but he will become rich more satisfactorily, if he does what he wants to do. Doing what you want to do is life, and there is no real satisfaction in living, if we are compelled to be forever, something we don't like to do, and never do what we want to do. And it is true, you can do what you want to do. Desire is proof that you have within you, the power that can do it. Desire is the manifestation of power. The desire to play music is the power to be able to play it, seeking expression in development. The desire to invent mechanical devices, is the mechanical talent seeking expression and development. Where there is no power, developed or underdeveloped, to do a thing, there will never be the desire to do that thing. And where there is a strong desire to do a thing, it is proof positive, that the power to do it is strong, and requires to be developed and applied in the right way. Of all other things being equal, it is best to select the business, for which you have the most developed talents. But if you have a strong desire, in engaging in any particular line of work, you should select that work, as the ultimate goal you want to reach. He may do what he wants to do, and it is his right and privilege, to follow the business or vocation, which is most congenial and congenial. He is not obliged to do what he does not want to do, and he should not do it, unless it leads him to do the things he wants to do. If there are past mistakes, the consequences of which, have placed you in an undesirable business or environment, you might be forced for a while to do what you don't like to do. But you can make the execution of this enjoyable, knowing that it will be possible for you to get to do what you really want to do. If you feel you are not in the right vocation, don't rush into another one. The best way, generally, to change business or environment, is with growth. Don't shy away from making a radical change, if the opportunity presents itself, and you feel that, after careful thought, the time is right. But never take radical or sudden action, when you have doubts about the maturity to do so. There is never a rush on the creative plane and there is no lack of opportunity. When you get out of the competitive mind, you will understand that you never need to act rashly. No one is going to take away what you want to do, there is enough to go around. If one space is taken, another and better one will be opened for you a little later. There is plenty of room. When in doubt, wait. Lean back in contemplation of your vision, and increase your faith and purpose. However, in time of doubt and indecision, cultivate gratitude. A day or two spent in contemplating the vision of what you want, and in fervent gratitude that you will get it, will bring your mind into such close relationship with the Supreme that you will not make mistakes when you act. There is a mind, which knows all there is to know, and you can enter into intimate unity with this mind, by faith and purpose to move forward in life, if you have deep gratitude. Mistakes come from acting in haste, or acting in fear, doubt or forgetfulness of the right motive, which is more life to all, and less to none. As long as you are on the right path, opportunities will come in increasing numbers, and you will need to be very firm in your faith and purpose. As well as keep in close contact with the Supreme Mind, through deep gratitude. Do everything you can perfectly, every day, but do it without haste, worry or fear. Go as fast as you can, but never rush. Remember that the moment you begin to rush, you cease to be a creator, and become a competitor. You will be sent back to the old plane. Whenever you get busy, stop. Fix your attention on the mental image of what you want, and begin to give thanks for being able to get it. The exercise of gratitude will never fail to fortify your faith and renew your purpose. Chapter 14. The Impression of Increase. Regardless of whether you change your vocation or not, your actions at present should be such as pertain to the business in which you are now engaged. You can get into the business you want by making constructive use of the business in which you are already established, by doing your daily work in the right way. And no matter whether your business consists in dealing with other people, either personally or by mail, the key thought of all your efforts must be in conveying to their minds the impression of increase. Increase is what all men and women seek, it is the urge of the amorphous intelligence within them, seeking full expression. The desire for increase is inherent in all nature, it is the fundamental impulse of the universe. All human activities are based on the desire for increase. People seek more food, more clothing, better shelter, more luxury, more beauty, more knowledge, more pleasure, the increase in something, more life. Every living thing is under this continual need for advancement, where there are increasing cessations of life, dissolution and death come at once. Man instinctively knows this, and therefore is always seeking more. This law of perpetual increase was fixed by Jesus, in the parable of the talents. For to the one who produces will be given more, and he will have in abundance, but from the one who does not produce, even what he has will be taken away. The normal desire for increased wealth is not a demon or something reprehensible. It is simply the desire for a more abundant life. It is aspiration. And because it is the deepest instinct of their nature, all men and women are attracted to those who can give them more of the means of life. By following the right way, as described in the previous pages, you are getting continual increase for yourself, and you are giving to all with whom you deal. You are a creative center, from which the increase is distributed to all. Be sure of this, and convey assurance of the fact to every man, woman and child with whom you come in contact. No matter how small the transaction, even if it be the sale of a candy bar to a little child, put into it the thought of increase, and make sure that the customer is impressed with the thought. Convey the impression of advancement, with everything you do, so that all people get the impression that you are an advancement personality, and that you advance everyone you deal with. Even people you meet in a social way, without any business thought, and with whom you are not trying to sell something, give them the thought of increase. You can convey the impression, by keeping a firm faith, that you yourself are on the path of increase, and by allowing this faith to inspire, fill and permeate every action. Do everything you do with the firm conviction, that you are a personality of progress, and that you are giving progress to all. Feel that you are becoming rich, and also making others rich, conferring benefits on all. Do not boast or brag about success, nor talk about it unnecessarily. True faith is never arrogant. Wherever you find an arrogant person, you find someone who is insecure, as well as fearful. Just feel the faith, and let it work in every transaction. Let every act, tone and look, express the silent assurance that you are becoming rich, that you are already rich. Words will not be necessary to communicate this feeling to others. They will perceive the sense of increase within your presence, and will again return to you. You must impress so much upon others, that they will thus feel, that in association with you, they will gain increase for themselves. See yourself giving them a greater use value, than the monetary value you take from them. Take honest pride in doing this, and let everyone know it, and you will have no shortage of customers. People will go where you give them increase, and the Supreme, who wants increase in everyone and who knows everyone, will bring you the men and women, who have never heard of you. Your business will grow rapidly, and you will be amazed at the unexpected benefits, which will come to you. You will be able to make, day by day, greater combinations, greater profits for sure, and you will continue in a more appropriate vocation, if you so desire. But in doing this, you must never lose sight of your vision of what you want, or the faith and purpose to have what you want. Let me give you here another warning, regarding motives. Beware of the tendentious temptation, to seek power over others. Nothing is so pleasing to the immature, or partially developed mind, as the exercise of power or dominion over others. The desire to rule for its own gratification has been the curse of the world. For countless ages, kings and lords drenched the earth with blood, in their battles to extend their dominions, not to seek more life for all, but to have more power for themselves. Today, the main motive in the commercial and industrial world, remains the same. Men gather their armies of dollars, and ruin the lives and hearts of millions, in the same maniacal disorder, to have power over others. Commercial kings, like political kings, are inspired by the lust for power. They heed the temptation to seek authority, to become masters, to be considered as the masters of the world. To be seen as above others, to impress others with the display of luxuries, etc. The mind that seeks to rule over others is the competitive mind, and the competitive mind is not creative. To rule over your environment and your destiny, there is no need to rule over your partner. And indeed, when he falls into the world's struggle for higher positions, he begins to be conquered by fate and environment, and his attainment of wealth becomes a matter of luck and speculation. Beware of the competitive mind. No statement can be better formulated than the statement of the last, golden rule, of Jones of Toledo: what I want for myself, I want for others. Chapter 16. Some warnings and concluding remarks. Many people will mock the idea that there is an exact science of getting rich, maintaining the impression that the supply of wealth is limited. They will insist that social and governmental institutions must change before any considerable number of people can, even, acquire a skill. But that is not true. It is true that there are governments which keep the masses in poverty, but that is because the masses do not think and act in the right way. If the masses were to start moving forward, as suggested in this book, no government or industrial system would stop them. All systems must be modified, in order to accommodate the movement of progress. If people have the mind of progress, have faith that they can become rich, and move forward with the fixed purpose of becoming rich, nothing possible can keep them in poverty. Individuals can get on the right road at any time, and under any government, and become rich. And when any considerable number of individuals do so under any government, they will cause the system to be modified, to open the way for others. The more people become rich on the competitive plane, the worse it will be for others. On the other hand, the more people become rich on the creative plane, the better it will be for others. The economic salvation of the masses can only be achieved by getting more people to practice the scientific methods set forth in this book and become rich. This will show others the way, and inspire them with a real desire for life, with the faith that it can be achieved, and with the purpose to achieve it. For now, however, it is enough that you know that no government, under which you live, nor capitalism or competitive system of industry, can prevent you from becoming rich. When you enter the creative plane of thought, you will rise above all these things, and become a citizen of another realm. But remember that your thinking must be kept on the creative plane. Never, even for an instant, believe that the source is limited, or act on the moral level of competition. Whenever you fall into these old ways of thinking, correct yourself immediately. Because when you are in the competitive mind, you have lost the cooperation of the Supreme Mind. Don't spend time planning how you will deal with possible emergencies in the future, accept how necessary policies may affect your actions today. Concern yourself with getting the job done today, in a perfectly successful manner, and not with the emergencies that may arise tomorrow. You will be able to deal with them as they arise. Do not concern yourself with questions of how to overcome obstacles that may threaten your business horizon unless you can clearly see that your course must be altered now to avoid them. No matter how tremendous an obstruction may seem, you will realize that if you go the right way, it will disappear as you approach it. Or that a path over, under, through or around it will appear. No possible combination of circumstances can defeat a man or woman who is proceeding to become rich along strictly scientific lines. No man or woman who obeys the law can fail in attempting to become rich, as if one multiplied 2 by 2, and failed to get 4. Do not think anxiously of possible disasters, obstacles, fears, or combinations of unfavorable circumstances. There is time enough to face those things when they come before you, in the immediate present, and you will find that every difficulty carries with it the means to overcome it. Save your speech. Never speak of yourself, your business, or anything else in a discouraging way. Never admit the possibility of failure, or speak in a way which infers failure as a possibility. Never speak of hard times, or business conditions as uncertain. Times may be tough and business uncertain for those in the competitive arena, but they will never be for you. You can create what you want, and be above fear. When others have tough times and poor business, you will find the greatest opportunities. Get in the habit of thinking and looking at the world, as something that is becoming, that is growing, and at what seems evil, as something that is underdeveloped. Always speak in terms of progress. To do otherwise is to deny your faith, and to deny your faith is to lose it. Never be disappointed. You may expect to have a thing at a certain time, and not get it at that instant, and it will seem like failure to you. But if you hold fast to your faith, you will find that failure is only apparent. Go on in the right way, and if you do not receive that object, you will receive something better, which will make you see that the apparent failure is a great success. A student of this science had set his mind on making a certain business combination, which he found very attractive at the time, and worked for some weeks to attain it. When the crucial time came, the business failed in an inexplicable way. It was as if a hidden influence had been secretly working against him. But he was not disappointed. On the contrary, he thanked God that his wish had been denied, and continued steadfastly with a grateful mind. A few weeks later, a much better opportunity came along. And he did not have to make, not even the first transaction on any account, and he saw that a mind that knew more than he did, had prevented him from losing much more, by entangling himself with little. That is the way, how every apparent failure will work for you, if you keep your faith, hold fast to your purpose, have gratitude, etc. And doing every day, everything that can be done that day, doing each separate act in a successful way. When you fail, it will be because you did not ask for enough. Keep going, and something better will come to you. Always remember this. You will not fail because you lack the necessary talent, with which to do what you desire. If you follow as I have indicated, you will develop all the talent that is needed to do your work. It is not within the scope of this book to discuss the science of cultivating talent, but it is as certain and simple as the process of getting rich. However, do not hesitate, for fear that you will get to a certain place, and fail for lack of ability. Keep going, and when you get to that place, the skill will be given to you. The same source of ability, which enabled the inexperienced Lincoln to do the greatest work in government ever done by one man, is also open to you. You can draw all the knowledge you want, to use in meeting the responsibilities, which have been entrusted to you. Go on in full faith. Study this book. Make it your constant companion until you have mastered all the ideas contained in it. As long as you are firmly established in this faith, it will do you good to give up many recreations and pleasures, and to stay away from places where conflicting ideas are given in lectures and sermons. Do not read pessimistic or conflicting literature, or enter into arguments on the subject. Spend most of your leisure time contemplating your vision, cultivating gratitude, and reading this book. It contains all you need to know about the science of getting rich, and you will find all the essentials summarized in the next chapter. Chapter 17. Summary of the Science of Getting Rich. There is a thoughting substance, from which all things are made, and which, in its original state, pervades, permeates, penetrates, and fills the interstices of the universe. A thought in this substance produces the object which is imagined by the thought. A person can form things in his thoughts, and by imprinting his thought on the amorphous substance, he can cause the object he intended to create. To do this, a person must move from the competitive to the creative mind. Otherwise, he cannot be in harmony with the amorphous intelligence, which is always creative, and never competitive in spirit. A person can come into complete harmony with the amorphous substance by recreating a vivid and sincere gratitude for the blessings bestowed upon him. Gratitude unifies the mind of man with the intelligence of substance, so that the thoughts of man are received by the amorphous. A person can remain on the creative plane only by uniting with the amorphous intelligence, through a deep and continuous feeling of gratitude. A person must form a clear and definite mental image of the things he wishes to have, to do, or to be. And he must keep this image in his thoughts, while he is deeply grateful to the Supreme, because all his desires will be granted. The person who wishes to become rich, should spend his leisure hours in contemplating his vision, and with deep gratitude, that they will indeed be given to him. The importance of frequent contemplation of the mental image cannot be overemphasized, be coupled with unwavering faith and devout gratitude. This is the process by which impression is given to the amorphous, and the creative forces are set in motion. Creative energy works through the established channels of natural growth, industrial and social order. Whatever is included in this mental image, will be brought to the person who follows the instructions given above, and whose faith does not break. What he wants will come to him, through the ways of established industry and commerce. To receive what is his own, when he is ready to come to it, a person must be in action, in a way, which leads to more than filling his present place. He must keep in mind the purpose of enriching himself, through the realization of his mental image. And he must do it, every day, as much as can be done that day, taking care, to do every act in a successful way. He must give each person a use value in excess than the monetary value he receives, so that each transaction makes more life. And he must hold the thought of progress, so that the impression of increase will be communicated to all with whom he comes in contact. Men and women who practice the above instructions will certainly become rich. And the riches they receive will be in exact proportion to the definiteness of their visions, the stability of their purpose, the steadfastness of their faith, and the depth of their gratitude. If you liked this audiobook, and you want to listen to other similar ones, check out the video description. Thank you for your visit.